Forget everything LinkedIn sales gurus have taught you about cold emailing. A lot of them are writing for likes and comments and not actual results. I've spent over 7 years in enterprise software sales. I've sent over 50,000 cold emails. It's probably closer to 100,000, but we're going to play it safe. And what I'm about to show you isn't theory. It's what actually works when you're on the front lines, sending hundreds of emails each week to busy decision makers who don't really care about clever hook lines or trendy frameworks. So these are the 6 rules I follow every time I hit send. The first one being, forget everything LinkedIn sales gurus have taught you. Let's start there. Let's wipe the slate. Have an open mind. I'm going to walk you through this. So what I have pulled up here is very representative of what I see being peddled across LinkedIn. I get emails all the time from sales reps about CRM systems and things like that, and they almost all sound something like this. This is a real example I pulled from LinkedIn. I changed the industry and the persona and all of that, but these are real examples. So, hey Connor, noticed company name is scaling your delivery ops. Are your dispatchers still manually tracking drivers or routes? We've been helping companies like Insert Win Story cut driver admin time by 20% using simple vehicle tracking tools, no rip and replace setup needed. Might be worth a quick peek. Want me to send over a 2-minute video? Connor. Let me know in the comments. This is what I see out there. This is the most common email framework I see. And what you've probably been taught, and that the principles this follows are, you have to give off personal relevance in the first line. Brevity, it's got to fit on an iPhone, 70 words or less. And it usually follows some nice flow that sounds good on paper, like observation, problem insight, social proof, soft CTA. Right off the bat, though, I just want you to know, this is what everyone sounds like, and you generally want to be zigging while other people zag. So if you think this is creative, it's not, because this is what most reps sound like, and therefore when prospects see this, alarm bells start to go off. So a few things I right off the bat don't like about this is, one, you don't even tell them who you are. In their head, you haven't really even introduced yourself. Are you in sales? Are you in marketing? Are you in product? Are you an intern? Like, who are you? It's kind of unprofessional to just not introduce yourself. The other more important detail I don't like is, what's your goal here? Generally, it's to book a meeting. Where in this email do you ask for a meeting? Want me to send a 2-minute video? Why do you want to create an extra step for yourself where you have to send them a video and then book the meeting after that? In fairness, a lot of other times people might finish with something like, might be worth a quick peek, or they might say worth a chat. So yeah, you're kind of asking for the meeting, but that's a soft CTA. I'm old school. I have found that assumptive CTAs are much more effective when you're implying the meeting is going to happen. Why would I ask them if it's worth a chat? My email, I want it to sound like this is worth a chat because of how relevant I am to you, the priorities and challenges we solve, how we solve them, and I'm expecting this meeting to happen. They can tell me no, but I'm going to go down with that assumptive tone. And then lastly, I just think these types of emails just sound goofy. Like, when I see them in the inbox, it just comes across as unprofessional. You haven't introduced yourself. It's too short. I'm going to show you my email in a second, but I agree with brevity, but what I'm about to show you fits on an iPhone in one clean shot, and it's about 2 to 3 times longer than this. I don't know where this 70 words or less came from. It sounds good. It's got to be short, concise, to the point. You can be short, concise, to the point, but if you don't give enough context, then people are just like, who are you? You don't give them anything to bite off on. So let's get into how I prefer to send emails instead. And bear with me, I'm going to break it down. So I follow a 3-body framework where you answer, if you follow my channel, this will sound familiar, who you are, why you're reaching out to them specifically, and what you want. It's the same framework I use for cold calls. It works on emails. It's 3 bodies of paragraphs. I like the rule of 3. This is a real psychological principle you can look up, that the brain likes 3s, especially in written word. 3s make sense. If you go to 4, it starts to feel a little too long, but it's about 5 to 6 sentences, and just read the difference. Hi blank, my name is Connor Murray, and I just made up this company, and I'm part of the Fleet Core Solutions team responsible for supporting XYZ company. Given your role, I'm looking to introduce our team and get aligned with your priorities going forward. My team focuses on priorities related to vehicle tracking, fleet visibility, and driver performance management. We work with customers to reduce driver admin time, improve route efficiency and visibility, and streamline reporting on driver and vehicle activity by providing straightforward tracking tools and clear, up-to-date fleet information. I'm looking to set some time for an introduction, as my team will be your point of contact for priorities in these areas going forward. Do either of the following dates work for you? I like to leave a couple times. Thanks in advance, Connor. So let's break this down. There's 3 components to this email. It's who you are is the first body of paragraph, why you're reaching out, which is the second body, and then what you want, which is the third body. And if you're already thinking in your head, Connor, does this only work if they're an existing customer or if you're a big, well-known brand? Don't worry, hopefully I'm reading your mind. I'm going to show you another example in a second. But first, let's break down this email. So it's 3 bodies: who you are, why you're reaching out, what you want. It starts with the who, which is very simple. You tell them your name, the company or the group that you're a part of, and that you're responsible for supporting them, and that you'd like to introduce yourself. You make that intent clear at the beginning of the call. Now, there's ways to tweak this and make this even a little more specific. Like if you were about to email 50 people in a row who all worked in the construction industry, you could say, I'm part of the construction team at Fleet Corp. Little details like that, but you don't have to overthink it. It's 1 or 2 sentences, you introduce yourself, and then get right into it. Then we get to the why portion of the email. This is the portion you want to test the most. It's the most important to tweak and nail down, but if you get it right, it can work wonders for you, where you basically answer a few questions succinctly, and I've bolded or highlighted what I changed to make it more relevant. So what you have in the highlight there is what you can change depending on the persona you're reaching out to, the industry they work in, etc. But my team focuses on, and then you name priorities that you work on, outcomes at a high level that you tend to deliver, and how you do so at a high level. So the priorities you work on, the outcomes you deliver, and how you do it. If you can fit all of those into about 2 sentences, you're on the right track. So in this case, the priorities we work on are vehicle tracking, fleet visibility, and driver performance management. That's going to catch their eye, but you're not going too specific because you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into just one specific topic. But a lot of this, to a lot of people who are like fleet managers or operations managers, which is what I'm assuming is the persona we're reaching out to in this case, those are priorities they care about. Then we're going to say some high level, like how we work with customers, reduce driver admin time, improve route efficiency, streamline reporting. This is high level. Like as you work at your company and you see a bunch of internal language being used, other email templates, this is the stuff you want to tweak. And then at a high level, we provide straightforward tracking tools and clear up-to-date fleet information. And then I don't ask worth a chat. I'm looking to set some time for an introduction as we will be your point of contact. That's a lot stronger. Now, you have to be careful. You can't just use you being the account manager and the point of contact as the main reason to be meeting. It complements everything you put in here. So the mistake I see a lot of people make when deploying this tactic is they basically just say that they're part of the team. We work on a couple priorities and I'd like to introduce myself. You have to nail this part down, the why you're reaching out, the priorities you work on, outcomes you deliver, and how you deliver them at a high enough level, something for them to bite off on. So notice some observations about this email. No fluffy filler language. No, I hope all is well. Congrats on the recent promotion. I read in an article recently. There's no hyperlinks, Calendly links, attachments, or links to articles that you read. There's 2 reasons for this. One, it's salesy, and it comes across like you're just blasting this out to everyone, especially the Calendly links. It's like, I don't really care what your response is to what I just said as long as you just book a meeting with me. The attachments, the hyperlinks, people aren't going through that stuff. The article links too, no one cares about the article you read on a cold email. The other reason you don't want to do this stuff is because this is what can get your email flagged as spam, so be very careful. The other thing is I use an assumptive tonality. We're going to cover this later in the video, the difference between assumptive language and passive language and the most common examples to look out for. This is the quickest way to start getting better results. It's not, if you're interested, I'd love to set up some time. It's, I'm looking to set some time. And then 5 to 6 sentences is generally what I target. This might look a little long to you. You can type this out, draft it up on a phone, and send it to yourself. It fits on, as a whole, it fits on an iPhone, which is all that's important. I don't agree with this. You want to make the emails as short as possible, because the other thing you got to remember is 70 to 80% of meetings booked over email come from a follow-up, which is meant to redirect them back to the initial email. No matter how good your initial email is, most people don't respond to the first email. They respond to a follow-up, and then they go back and read your first email really carefully. So I'm okay with this being a little longer. Even though I don't think it's that long, it still fits on an iPhone. But now, as promised, Let's say you're hung up on the, well, what if they're not an existing customer? Or what if I don't work for a big name brand where that strategy is not going to work? Always remember that these are frameworks. I'm not giving you exact words to say, although I think for a lot of you, if you just take what I put, let's take this slide, for example, here. If you just replace what you've been using for email and just simply use this exact framework and try and replace what's highlighted here with your own priorities and challenges and outcomes you deliver, you will, for about 90% of you, I think you'll start immediately getting better results if you implement this over a week or two. But here's an example where I don't imply that they're an existing customer, where I say, hi, my name's Connor Murray. I'm part of the construction team at Fleet Core Solutions. We work with fleet operating teams in the construction space to improve visibility and cut down on manual admin work, something to bite off on immediately. Our focus is on priorities related to, a lot of this is very similar, vehicle tracking, fleet visibility, driver performance management. Customers use our tools to reduce driver admin time, improve route efficiency, yada, yada, yada. Same thing as last slide. Looking to set some time for an introduction to understand your priorities and see if there's a fit. Do either following dates work for you? And I like to offer the times. It makes it easy for them to pull up the calendar. But if you don't like to do the bullet points, you can just say, when do you have availability this week or within the next couple weeks? Thanks in advance, Connor. So it follows the same structure. It's the same framework. Who, why, what, 3 bodies of paragraph. But always remember that you can adapt this. And if you need a starting point, you can literally just type out what I've put here, put it in a chat GPT and say, replace the bolded text to be more targeted to blank persona, and I sell at XYZ company. And it will give you a good starting point that's like 70, 80% ready to go out of the box. But now let's get to rule number 3, which is probably the most important rule, or at least the quickest way to fix results, which is to replace passive language with assumptive language. So again, this is a real email template that I've seen out there where I highlighted all of the things that are passive language, which just kill your email results. So, hi blank, many construction and field service companies are beginning to explore ways to modernize and streamline their fleet operations. I'm reaching out from the Fleet Solutions team at Fleet Core, which supports companies like XYZ in staying aligned with growing industry trends, blah, blah, blah. I was hoping to connect so I could better understand your role in fleet operations and possibly discuss any tools or processes you're currently using to manage vehicles, track drivers, or reduce admin work. Would you maybe be open to a brief conversation this week to share insights? Thanks, Connor. I hope you can see why I highlighted some of this language, and I see this being used all the time. Even when the templates are really strong, if you, like, little details like this can kill your email. Even just replace, like, keep the, I don't think this is a great template to begin with, but if you just simply deleted the word possibly and kept everything else the same, you would immediately improve your email response rates, probably 1 to 2%, which is a big deal at scale. But I was hoping to connect. We don't have to, but I'd love to. I was hoping to. I could better understand your role. That's not necessarily passive language. It's just sort of a passive like offer of value. Like, you're supposed to know about their role. No one wants to get on to teach you about their role. Again, possibly discuss. Like, why are you saying possibly? Or would you maybe be open? You're putting way too many caveats on here. So simply by replacing it, this is the same template as the last slide. That's why I say I'm looking to set up some time, or let's set up some time. I'm going to show you some examples here in a second, but this is the quickest way without changing your entire email yet. If that's too much for you, simply look for passive language and either straight up delete it or replace it with stronger, more assumptive language. And here's how you do that. Here's a checklist I essentially created to look out for. This isn't totally comprehensive, but it should give you a good idea. So some examples of passive language. I was hoping to, I'd love to, or I'd like to. That's a sneaky one. A lot of people say I'd love to. It's not going to kill your email, but I'm looking to is a much better replacement. If you're interested or if you're available, how we could potentially help or act as a resource. Would you be interested? When you may have time? Do you possibly have time? These are all things that are non-committal. They make your request sound optional, like it's not that important, but if they're interested, it could possibly be a good use of their time. So simply by replacing it with stronger, more assumptive language, I'm looking to set some time, or let's set some time this week. Either way, maybe you told them about something different first, like an event or a webinar, but either way, I'm looking to set some time this week. Let me know if either of those dates work. Things that request a response to what you're asking for, which is a time on their calendar, That's generally what you're aiming for, and you want it to be assumptive, like you're expecting this to happen. Even thanks in advance, the subject line, it almost implies they're going to respond. It's such a small detail, but with email, the small details matter because at scale, you're going to be sending thousands of these over a course of a quarter or a fiscal year, and 1-2% differences can be the difference between 10, 20 meetings in a quarter. So yeah, I even look at the subject lines. Now, similar to passive language, you want to watch out for some of these buzzwords or buzz phrases that just come across as salesy and will raise alarm bells in prospects' heads. So see how we can be an educational resource, learn more about your role to better understand your role, give a high-level overview. Nobody wants a high-level overview, gain some insight, sharing broad industry statistics, like 42% of CFOs in your industry say this. It's not like no one believes that. It just sounds like you're blasting off the same thing to everyone, and they're like, well, I don't care what the industry says. I care about my business. Telling them about an article you read, cheesy hook lines at the beginning of an email. This includes subject lines too, which we're also going to cover later in this video. Don't miss another dollar of revenue. Or I saw one recently where it was like, not since the assembly line has manufacturing been subject to such profound change. Things like that. Even if your email is fire, that alone is just going to impact their perception of it. And a lot of them probably just won't even give you the time of day or read the email because of it. Lastly, excessive language. This is an important one to look out for. A lot of people make this mistake because they pull language from like their company website, and they'll say things in their email like, in this ever-changing landscape, or during these transformative times, or we're empowering businesses to do this. You don't sound like a human personally reaching out to them when they do that. So little details like this you want to look out for and scan for in your emails because they can be immediate ROI when it comes to reply rates and meeting book rates. But now let's get to rule number 4, follow-ups. This is so important because, like I said, most people don't respond to your initial email. It's a follow-up that gets the response. That doesn't mean the first email isn't important. It's just we want our follow-ups to be directing our attention to that. Here are a couple bad examples that I commonly see out there. Again, I see these on LinkedIn. I see them in my inbox where I think people are just doing too much. The mistake they're making is they're almost writing a new email and disregarding the fact that they already sent them an initial valuable email. I want to do that first email right, and then my follow-ups are essentially saying, hey, I'm a real person. Please give me your thoughts on what I shared with you. Not, oh, that didn't work. Let me see if I can just spin up something new and hook you in this way. So it'll sound something like, came across this article on top trends shaping the future of fleet management, thought it might be helpful to share. It's some link to a report. Let me know if you'd like me to send over a PDF version, blah, blah, blah. Would love to get your thoughts. Is this something that's currently on your radar? Again, you're not giving yourself a chance of booking the meeting here. You're adding an extra step. You're requesting their response to something you shared with them before just asking for the meeting. You should just ask for the meeting, and your follow-up shouldn't be this long. Another common example, this is like my least favorite kind of follow-up. I've reached out a couple times and I don't want to keep following it up if this isn't a priority. That said, I just put together a short case study on how construction companies are reducing admin time, improving vehicle visibility. Thought it might be helpful. Would you like me to send it over? If now isn't the right time, happy to connect down the road. This one irritates me. I get this in my inbox. 1, again, you're not giving yourself a chance of booking the meeting. 2, it's like, really? You just put together an entire case study. You're supposedly reaching out to me personally, and you put together an entire case study, and rather than just sharing it with me, you're dangling it as a carrot, and you're really just going to throw away all that work if I don't respond to you. That's 1, you're either insane, or 2, more likely, you're just a lying salesperson and you didn't actually put together a short case study, and you're just trying to use a manipulative tactic to get me on a meeting. And prospects might not consciously think this in their head. It's just like a subconscious thing. It rubs them the wrong way, and they just don't reply. These types of follow-ups don't get replies. So my guidelines are follow-ups should be short and concise. They should also it should be a little bit of a pattern interrupt. They should be able to see the entire follow-up or the majority of it in the preview, like the subject preview of their email. So without opening the email, they already see your message. It should have a strong call to action, so it should request a response to your first email where you asked for a meeting, so you're giving yourself a chance. And again, they should be assumptive. This detail is key. 48 hours max between touch points. Any more than that, and your whole message about this being important and this being a priority falls apart. A mistake, like I see it in my inbox where someone will reach out to me, I'll get an initial email on Monday, the first follow-up will come the next Monday, the second follow-up will come the Monday after that, and it's just so obvious to me. I'm just on some automated weekly cadence, and now I know this isn't really someone reaching out to me personally, and I'm like, if I just don't respond for a couple more Mondays, they'll eventually go away. But when you're following up within 24, 48 hours with short and concise, assumptive follow-ups, they're like, oh wait, is this a real person? What did they say in their email? And then they go read it closely. So if you do this right, what I recommend is 4 email touch points in 8 days. For broad general prospecting, I recommend 4 email touch points in 8 days and then move on. There's all this stuff on LinkedIn. You see all these rah-rah stories where it's like, I followed up with this prospect 23 times over email and they finally got back to me and we booked a meeting and I got an opportunity. And it's like, great, but what about the thousands of people you probably followed up with 25 times that never responded, and now all of that time you wasted going to that could have just been going to new fresh lists. So what I say is hit them early and often, hit them hard, 4 emails in 8 days. Ideally, you can mix in calls too with the ABAB cadence. I'm not going to go into too much detail there. I'll link to a video about the ABAB cadence up top, but it's essentially where they're getting an email one day, a call the next, follow up the next, call the next, where it's like email, call, email, call. You hit them hard for about 8 days. After 8 days, they know you're there. You're better off just moving on to a new list. And then what I say is you can follow up and re-engage lists you've already contacted with a very similar email structure after not that much time. Generally 4 weeks. 4 weeks is a little early. 6 to 8 weeks is about what I recommend, where you can reach out to new lists you've already hit, or sorry, old lists you've already hit again. And a lot of times they don't remember it was you who reached out to them 6 to 8 weeks ago. And sometimes it's just a timing thing. And you can keep doing that and recycling it throughout the year. So here are some examples of the follow-up flow I like to use for those. So initial email and 3 follow-ups. Follow-up 1 is generally a simple nudge where I give them the benefit of the doubt, but request a response. The second one, I show a little professional, keyword professional dissatisfaction. So I'm not getting angry with them, but I'm letting them know like, hey, I'd like a response to what I just shared and put together for you a couple days ago. That's a pattern interrupt. This is where most meetings get booked by far, is this second, within the first one or the second one. And then the third one, I'm always testing, tweaking, but as of now, I use the assumptive breakup, where you're still being assumptive, but you're kind of letting them know, I still plan to follow up with you, but maybe just another date. So follow-up 1, here's some examples. There's infinite amounts of ways you can do this, but generally I want it to be pretty short, give them the benefit of the doubt. Just wanted to bump this up in case it got buried in your inbox. Do either of those dates work? Just confirming you caught my previous note. Do any of those times work? Wanted to make sure my last email reached you. Let me know what works best on your end. So you're not really going at them hard yet. You're giving them the benefit of the doubt. But the purpose of this and why I like to be, give them the benefit of the doubt and a little more lenient is because if they don't respond to that, then I get a little more professionally dissatisfied, where my favorite one to this day is literally just, please give me your thoughts on this. And thanks, Connor. They see this in their email. They're like, please give me your, wait, what? And then they see, oh, they already followed up with me. What did they say to me? And then they scroll down and they read your first email really closely. Beware. This is meant to get responses. A lot of the responses will be, my thoughts are, take me off your list and never contact me again. That's totally okay. I just want responses. More replies, the better, because a lot of them are, oh, I'm so sorry, I've been so busy this week, or I was out of office just seeing this. Yeah, I'm free on Tuesday. Or in the real value is you get people to give you an objection who otherwise wouldn't have responded to you, and now you at least have an opportunity to overcome it. So they might say, hey, thanks for reaching out. Yeah, I saw your previous emails. I just don't think it makes sense to meet because we already use XYZ solution. And now you at least have the chance to tell them why it still makes, like, acknowledge their concern and tell them it makes sense to meet anyway. But you wouldn't have had that chance if you weren't a little professionally dissatisfied. We're not being disrespectful. We're not saying like, hey buddy, I've sent you 2 emails. Like, why don't you reply back? Like, that's not what we're doing here. This is like, we're toying the line a little bit, but we're totally within the bounds of still being professional when we say things like this. And then if they still haven't replied to that, that's where you kind of throw your hands up and it's like, hey, let me know if this is a conversation we should postpone for a later date. Like, we'll still have the conversation, but just let me know if it should be at a different time. Maybe early May, like suggest like a month out. Please let me know. Or a different variation. Is May a better time to pick this up? I was hoping to find some time in the next couple weeks, but let me know either way. You kind of throw your hands up, try and guilt them a little bit, because then they see all of your. I get a decent amount of replies on this, but the first two is really where you get the most replies, and it needs to be within 48 hours max. Any more than that, and the reply rates drop pretty dramatically. So I like to do every other day to keep things simple. Rule number 5, small detail. I get asked about it a lot. Subject lines that work. Here's some ones to avoid. Like, these are the examples I was talking about with the cheesy hook lines. Let's 10x your fleet efficiency. Connor, saw this and thought of you. Like, really? I don't even know you. What? Your competition is already doing this. It's just salesy. I get your competition. Like, people get all fired up about their competition. No, they don't. It just comes across as salesy. I'm sorry. One other thing is this is less scalable when you're actually having to think really hard about your subject lines. It makes it harder to send out more emails. So all of these are totally fine subject line frameworks that are copy and pastable. You don't have to overthink it. Generally, I like to keep them 4 words or less if I can, and they're about the content of the email. The simplest one, I think, is just to use your name, their name, introduction, or intro. It's totally fine. People, when they see that, they're like, what's this? What's the introduction? What is this about? It gets totally fine open rates when you just do this. Yeah, maybe you're not nailing it. Maybe if you were really thought for an hour, you could have come up with some subject line that maybe would have hit the mark slightly better, but this will do the job and this gets opens. Another variation is your company, their company intro. Same thing, not overthinking it. Or your company, their company, some relevant priority, or again, this could be your name, their name, and then some relevant priority you know is highly likely to resonate with this persona. Or you could just do intro XYZ's fleet team. Something that's 4 words or less, it will catch their attention. It's about what the actual email is about, so they don't feel like they were misled after they read the email. I think the safest way to start is just this first one, but you can test all of these and see which ones get the best open rates for you. But the main takeaway is the goal of the subject line is to just not screw yourself over with like, let's 10x your fleet efficiency. Your email could be money, but if you use a subject line like that, a lot of people just won't take you as seriously. Simple is better. Don't try and win with the subject line. That's not what wins the email. You'll just sound salesy and manipulative. Clarity over cleverness. People open emails, they understand. And then lastly, build and use a repeatable framework. So you can take this and you replace what's in or what's highlighted to be more relevant to the personas and specifically what you sell. But this makes it easy to tee up emails for yourself for different personas, different industries, different key buying triggers that you reach out for. And you can use the same framework and it'll be an email that's highly targeted to all of them. So in these 2 examples here, one, I won't read the one on the left again because it's one I've already shared with you for the vehicle tracking and fleet management. If that's the type of software you sold, then this is the type of email template you could use. But let's, for a second, pretend you're part of, I just made up a CRM type solution, Rev Pilot CRM. The emails are visually the exact same, but in this one, I said my team focuses on priorities related to sales pipeline visibility, lead management, and rep productivity. We work with customers to improve forecasting accuracy, streamline deal tracking, and reduce time spent on manual data entry by providing an intuitive, easy to adopt CRM platform for growing your sales team. You could probably improve this, like even just reading this out loud, I would probably change this last line a little bit to sound a little less salesy, but you get the point that this is a repeatable structure that you can use for any type of products you sell, any type of persona you're reaching out to. You can maintain the quality without having to rethink and start from scratch at every single email. It makes it easy to get high quality emails out the door at scale. So putting it all together, some best practices to keep in mind if you're deploying these techniques. I was kind of just referencing this process of coiling the spring. I've talked about this a lot on my channel, where you want to do a lot of the heavy lifting up front. The position you don't want to be in as an SDR is you show up for work, you sign on, it's 8:30 in the morning, and you're like, Who am I going to contact today? Oh, I got to go scrape a list together. Now, what am I going to say to them? You want to do that. It creates daily friction for yourself, is how I look at it. It makes it hard to start your day. You want to do all of this up front. Create the lists you know you're going to target. Create the associated templates using the repeatable framework that you know align to those lists so that when you wake up, you simply have things to do and you have things to implement. The analogy I like to use is think about meal prep. If you've ever followed a workout routine, a lot of people, rather than figuring out what they're going to eat each day and having to go either buy the ingredients, buy the food, cook them, they spend 3-4 hours on Sunday just doing it all up front once, and they have their meals laid out for them because it saves them so much time throughout the week and makes their efforts more efficient. So you want to do that. This is almost like sales meal prep, except the good thing about this is lists that you build don't go bad after a week. They can last you months or even a year at a time. Like once you really have your territory flushed out and you've made all your lists, they can pretty much last you as long as you need, and you can keep recycling them and just updating them as the contacts change at these companies. You also want to bucket your top personas. So I say start high level and then work your way down. This is going to be a work in progress. So for example, if you work at a company that sells a whole bunch of different solutions to different departments, but it's the same platform. So you could make a temp targeted for finance departments, for HR departments, for marketing departments. Then you could start looking at individual titles. So within finance, you could make a VP of finance template, a template for controllers, a template for financial analysts. Because even though they all work in finance, a lot of them will have different priorities and challenges that they specifically care about. Then you could look at industry. So maybe you serve or support financial service accounts, manufacturing, retail. You can make a finance in financial services, finance in manufacturing, etc. You can look at sub-industries. So within financial services, you could make a banking template, an insurance template, a credit union template. And then you could look at revenue segment, employee count. You could really get as granular as you want. You can do it by geography, whatever those key buying triggers are, but start with your highest level, most important ones, and then work your way down over time. And then I say start small and get used to going through the motions. Don't immediately start trying to deploy this and rip like 100 plus emails a day. I think that's the number you need to get to. This includes follow-ups in order to have like a consistent flow of meetings from general outbound email prospecting. You generally have to get to that 100 plus number, but you want to start with 25. Just go through the motions and then add 10 to 15 each week until you reach 100, especially if you're brand new to emailing and you don't work at a large company that protects their domain carefully. This is also important because it warms up your email and makes sure you don't get marked as spam, which is like the worst thing that can happen. Then you pretty much have to scrap your email. So quality plus volume plus consistency is the key. I hear way too much that volume is dead. I hear way too much. Volume is dead. Like 5 quality emails a day. The volume. Anyone telling if you're an SDR, I hear way too much. Volume is dead. It's all quality. Like 5 targeted emails a day. Anyone that's if you're an SDR and your KPI is to book a certain amount of meetings per month, oftentimes I see it's like 15 a month, 20 a month. You better believe volume is important. Anyone telling you volume isn't important just doesn't have your best interest in heart, or they just don't know what they're talking about, or some combination of the two. Yes, you're not blasting out spam emails. That's the whole purpose of the coil the spring, is that we're making quality emails, we're targeting the right personas and prospects at scale, and we're doing it and following up consistently. If you combine those 3 things, this is how you can create an email engine for yourself that gives you meetings every single week on autopilot. Yes, there's going to be ebbs and flows. Some will be low. Some might even be 0. And then the next week, 5 or 6 comes in and it evens out. That's the goal here, to give yourself a repeatable process and framework that you can implement each day so that you sit down, you know what you're doing. So those are the 6 rules. Thanks for being a part of the video. If you got value, you want more like this, you can join the newsletter where I give out actionable daily tips under 60 seconds that you can implement that same day. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that, and I'll see you on the next one.